How are you measuring success? In today's video, I'm gonna give you 5 signs you're not financially free and how to fix them. So let's tap in. All right, before I go into the presentation today, um, I want to share a couple things, right? One, I want to share that if you are an entrepreneur, business owner, someone who needs to create content to share your message, share your story, right? To add value to your audience. And if you're having trouble creating content, I'm going to give you a hack right out the gate. And then we're going to get right into this information. What I have found is that I have an infinite amount of topics to talk on. But I haven't always felt this way. There were times that I was challenged, like, man, what am I going to talk about this week and what I'm going to train on? But then I changed the lens that I viewed things. I adjusted my hearing to hear things differently. And I realized that every day of my life is potential content. Every experience, every conversation I have. So I find myself either engaging in conversations at the gym, looking for some content, or eavesdropping on some conversations at the gym and looking for some content, right? So today I want to share this one here with you. Let me pull it up here on my notes because what I've become very intentional about is making sure that I document this stuff in real time because life moves at you fast. You forget some things, right? And you be like, man, what did that person say? And so this is what was said to me today in the locker room at the gym. Ran into one of my fraternity brothers, older gentleman, probably in the 60s or 70s, right? And I said, "Hey man, how you doing?" He said, "Man, I'm in here trying to stay healthy." And my response was, "I know that's right." And his response was, "You got to be alive to spend the money." And I thought that I don't know if that tickles you, but that tickled me to death. You got to be alive to spend the money, right? And my takeaway from that was, and it's going to lead right into the training today, is yeah, we're trying to help you get to the bag. Our podcast is called Cash Flow Unlocked, right? We're always talking about passive income and retiring early and becoming work optional and all of the things. But you got to be alive to spend the money. So putting first things first, your health and your livelihood and your well-being, right? So not only your physical health, but your mental health, your spiritual health has to be on point, right? Big shout out to my man Sean I saw where he tuned in here, and that's something I know he teaches on and pounds the table on all the time is that personal growth and development, right? So here's the deal, y'all. You gotta be alive to spend the money. Does it make sense to dedicate all this time to growing a business, to growing your income, to trying to be financially free if you aren't healthy enough to enjoy it? So that is the quote of the day. You gotta be alive to spend the money. Because if not, somebody else gonna spend the money that you dedicate all this time to doing. Anyway, that tickled me to death, y'all. So I had to share that with y'all real quick. All right, let's get into this piece, y'all. So, how are you measuring success and the 5 signs that you're not financially free, but more importantly, how to fix them, right? So, I love to tell stories. And here's the deal. When it comes to finances, this is what I find is that most people are measuring their success in their finances based upon their salary. That is the one number they're looking at. Hey, I make 100,000. I'm successful. Hey, I make 500,000. I'm successful. Hey, I make 1 million. Hey, I make 30,000, right? For the kid, who's still in school, in high school, hey, I make 10,000, 5,000, right? They measure their success based upon their salary, right? But here's the deal. Is there a different way we should be measuring our success? So let me connect the dots here. Here recently, this is a true story, like true story as in last 24 hours. So again, there's content everywhere you go. I recently have been selected to be honored in a magazine with a national exposure, and truly humbled and truly grateful. But what comes with being honored in this magazine is I have to do a photo shoot. Me and my wife, they want to actually do a photo shoot with me and my wife because they know she's my business partner and things of that nature. So what a photo shoot means, we got to actually get dressed up. Well, I don't get dressed up the way I used to because I haven't been in corporate America for over a decade. So I'm not required to wear a suit every day. Quite frankly, I can't fit half my suits in the custom suits I made but had back in the day. So, we're getting ready for this photo shoot and I'm going through my closet. And my wife, she had to go and get some things because she typically is never in business attire and they're requesting business classic attire. So I'm going through my closet and I was like, well, I can't wear that. I guess I'll piece this together, right? And you know, slightly frustrated. But here's the deal. I stay at the gym. I'm at the gym actually, that's a lie to say I'm at the gym 5, 6 days out the week. Here's the deal. I made a commitment at the beginning of the year that I would work out at least 45 minutes a day, every day. Since making that commitment, I've only missed 2 days. And we are already in the month of May, if you will, right? So I work out every day. And um, been trying to lose a couple of lbs, right? As you get older, metabolism slows down, your hormones, start doing some wonky things. And I'm like, man, so my guy at the gym, big shout out to my man Lee. We were talking one day. He like, yeah, man, we got to get after this thing. We're too cool to be chubby, which I believe. You know what I'm saying? That's another quote that just cracks me up. You know what I'm saying? We're too cool to be chubby. So, I've been working on my chubby. So, nonetheless, I'm in my closet and I'm like, well, shoot, I can't wear none of this stuff. And my wife says this to me, and she's just such a blessing to me. She says, have you tried on your wedding suit? So the suit we got married in. So we just had our 8th anniversary. So I was like, no, I can't wear that. That's why I was like, I can't fit that. Because last time I put it on, I was busting through the seams, couldn't even button the jacket up, right? She was like, well, baby, just see. So she pulls out the suit we got married in. Lo and behold, it fits. Now the pants a little tight, you know what I'm saying? I got a little junk in the trunk. So, but you know, I might not be dropping like it's hot, but I can walk and be comfortable in it, right? And the jacket fit perfectly. And I'm like, wow. So it made me start to think about my fitness journey. So, as I've been on this fitness journey and a goal to get down, a goal to drop, I just shared the numbers with you. I had got up as high as 265 pounds. When I say that, people couldn't believe it. They're like, wow, you was 265? I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, you carry it really well. I'm 6'3", so 265 don't look bad. So I do carry a ton of muscle. But my goal is to get down to 225. So the last time I was on the scale, I was fluctuating between 239 and 245. And I was like, I'm not getting on the scale anymore. So I'm doing my routine. I'm taking my supplements. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, right? I'm holding strong to my commitment of working out every day. And so I haven't been on the scale. So because I haven't been on the scale, I don't know my weight. Okay. So that's a number that I'm not currently tracking because I got frustrated because it kept fluctuating from like 245 to 237 to 239 back up to 245. Literally, my weight would swing 7 to 10 pounds just based on what I ate. And not that I was putting on fat, but just my body retains a lot of water. So I'm just not going to get on the scale and just keep doing the thing. So I have not been tracking that particular number. And, as a CFO, chief financial officer, and a financial person, tracking numbers are super important. But I decided, the hell with it, I'm not tracking that number, right? So, you know, back to the story. My wife puts out the suit on the bed. I put it on and it fits great. Now, at this point in time, I don't know if she saw it, but I'm elated. One, I can fit this custom suit that I spent good money on 8 years ago. I can fit it again. One is symbolic of our marriage and our union, right? But also, two, is just a fly ass suit that I have not been able to wear for 8 years, right? So I'm like, man, what I'm doing is actually working. And that's where I want you guys to connect the dots. How do you know what you're doing is actually working? Because the scale was misleading. Listen to that for a second. The number I was tracking was misleading. The number that most of you track, you just look at, oh, well, this is how much money I make. For business owners, we know this is a huge issue. Oh, this was my top line revenue. We brought in $1 million. Who cares? What was your profit? And is that business? Is that profit paying, saying, allowing you to cover your lifestyle as well as invest for the future? If it's not doing that, then the business is not successful. So this happens with businesses all the time. They track, hey, this is how much money we brought in. Okay, that's cool. How much money did you keep? Let me ask you, would you rather have a business making $1 million and you only keep 20,000? You can't pay your bills. You can't invest with that. Or would you rather have a business making a 500,000, but you're profiting 100,000? You can pay your bills, right? So what number are you tracking? And how do you measure success? So you can measure success on some numbers, but what other ways can you measure success? So I had this aha moment, and I knew I was going to do a training on it. Was I am having success in my weight loss slash fitness journey because I can now wear the suit I got married in 8 years ago, which I have not been able to wear for 8 years. Now, I'm curious to get on the scale because that's still a number that you kind of need to track. But now, are you seeing how a number, if you're only tracking one metric, right, can be misleading? So you have to track multiple metrics. So let's connect the dot this to your finances, right? Let's connect the dot here to your finances. If you're only tracking your income, you're missing the boat because you could have high income and still have no freedom. What if I told you there are people making less money than you and are more financially free than you are? You'd be like, Perry, how's that possible? Because to be financially free, you got to make a bunch of money. No, to be financially free, you have to know what your number is. What's your freedom number? Your freedom number is what are your fixed monthly expenses, your necessities, and your projected lifestyle expenses, right? The things that you want. What's your number? I was talking to somebody here recently, their number was 3,000. I know our number is not 3,000 in our household, right? It's getting close to 10, but everybody is different, which means the amount of cash flow you need is different across the board. So someone making 50,000 could be more financially free than a person making 250,000. And I know this to be a fact. I've been doing this 20 years, right? So now understanding, okay, what is another way to track if I'm financially free or if I'm not, what I need to fix? So let's get into this information here. So I'm looking at my notes here. All right, sign one that you are not financially free. Your calendar is controlled by other people, right? Here's the symptom: you can't choose how to spend your time. You're stuck in appointments and meetings and work that you did not design. Let that sink in. Are you living a life that you did not design? Like somebody else designed your life, your employer designed your life, your commitments designed your life, versus you actually saying, no, this is the life I want to live. The majority of Americans are, right? So here's the deal: if you don't control your calendar, somebody else will. Let me say that again. If you don't control your calendar, somebody else will. So here recently, I'm going to share kind of some strategies with you because there's a lot of folks out there who are feeling this, right? And here's another story, and it's another story that starts off at the gym because obviously I spend a lot of time at the gym, right? And I just shared this hot tub story here recently. So I think it was yesterday. Yeah, I know it was yesterday. It was Monday, right? I'm texting a colleague of mine, and they're like, "Oh man, you know what I'm saying? Boom, I'll give you a call. I'm in a meeting right now. I'll give you a call." I said, "Oh man, no worries. I'm sitting in the hot tub. I'll call you." He said, "Really? WTF?" Y'all know what WTF means, right? WTF? Really? No, you're not. So I sent him a picture of me in the hot tub. So I was like, thinking like in the hot tub, like, what's the big deal? I'm just sitting in the hot tub. If you know me, I'm kind of always in the hot tub. And the reality hit was it was about 10 o'clock on a Monday. The majority of Americans have clocked into their job on Monday and are being overwhelmed with emails, meetings, and just a whole bunch of shit they need to do. Yet I'm sitting in a hot tub. mid morning, chilling with no urgency to do anything other than, get my thoughts together and sit in that water and allow my creativity to come out. And it hit me like, man, I am so blessed, right? Um, would I like to be making more money? Sure. But the fact that I can sit in the hot tub on a Monday because I own my calendar is a sign, is a symptom of being financially free because making money is not dictating how I spend my Mondays. So I shared in this post that, I own my calendar. Monday is my admin day. I don't do any appointments on Monday. That's my time to think and get caught up on paperwork and also to work with my wife and spend some time with her. Work on our personal wealth because we spend a lot of time helping other people create wealth. But this is a time for us to do this together, right? Because Monday is admin day. And Friday is a flex day. So again, my calendar is not open. My team and I can choose to put appointments on the calendar, if we just need to. But for the most part, Friday is open and a flex day. And I spend a lot of that time, either meeting with my mentor or meeting with my mentees, or again, kind of closing up the week and button up on some things, or just chilling, right? So effectively, I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those are my busy days, and we pack them. We pack them tight, right? And we get to it so that we can, make sure that we service our community and our clients and things of that nature. But the deal is, I control my day, and when I didn't hit me until I received that text from my colleague, like he was mind blown that I was sitting in the hot tub on a Monday at 10 o'clock, right? And I'm like, man, this is kind of what financial freedom tastes like. I know just based on my calendar that I could leave, and I stop working at 3 o'clock every day. Why? Because my daughters get home from school from the bus about 2:30, 2:45, and I want to be there for them. Hey, how your day going? What's popping? And then more importantly, what I'm saying, we're in the middle of basketball season. We get to the gym, get some food in them. Boom, we get to the gym and get some training in, right? But again, that's quality time I can spend with my daughter. So I can train my daughters every day of the week because I don't work past 3 unless we have to put, an appointment on the calendar. But I am not a slave. I am not handcuffed. I am not chained to my calendar. My calendar is exactly how I want it. Okay. So that's one way to know whether or not, what I'm saying, sign one, your calendar is controlled by others, right? That's a sign that you're not financially free. All right. Sign number two, your income depends on you doing the work. Let me give you an example. Here's the symptom of this sign. If you don't work, you don't eat. If you are, an hourly employee, which now I'm not hating because all of us have done it, but if you're an hourly employee and you don't clock into work, you don't get paid. So you have this direct linear relationship with money. You have to trade your time for money. That's called linear. You put in more time, you can make more money. You clock in more, you make more. You don't clock in, you don't get paid, right? So that is a sign that you're not financially free. And you don't have to be a W 2 employee for this. A lot of entrepreneurs are not business owners, they're self employed. Ooh, time for illustration. Let me give an example what I mean here. Okay. You have what's called a cash flow quadrant, right? You have employee, you have self employed, you have investor, and business owner, right? And this is nothing that Perry made up, right? This is directly from Robbie Kiyosaki, but it's a great way to understand this piece if your income depends on you. An employee is trading their time for money. They want to make more money, they got to put in overtime. If they don't show up, they don't get paid. A self-employed person, which the majority of entrepreneurs are, is hey, I've gone to school, right? I've got a degree in law. I'm an attorney. I'm a surgeon. I'm a dentist. I'm a doctor, right? But They don't have anybody, other dentists or attorneys working for them. So, in order for them to get paid and generate income, they have to do the work. So, this is somebody who is self-employed. So, they actually own the job. They don't own the business. They own the job. Because again, if they don't show up and practice law, if they don't show up and do surgery, if they don't show up and do dentistry, if they don't show up and do the thing, right, that drives the revenue for the business, even if you own it, you're self-employed and you are still handcuffed to the job, right? So this is you own the job, but you still have a job trading time for money. A business owner is the person who owns the system. So they own the system. Kind of think franchise, right? I may own a McDonald's franchise, but you'll never catch me flipping fries or ask you, do you want to, supersize that, right? Because I own the system and I get paid for it, right? For owning the system. So a business owner has systems and employees and staff that are doing the heavy lifting while they reap the profits, right? I.e., passive income. And then you have investors, right? These are the people that go out and they acquire the assets that give them the passive income, right? So, question, where do you fall on this cash flow quadrant? Because true wealth and financial freedom is found on this side of the quadrant, on the right side. Business ownership, owning the system, and receiving the profits, and an investor, the I, investing in cash producing assets like real estate, franchises, other businesses, lending money, things of that nature, right? So, do you, does your income depend on you working? Symptom is if you don't work, you don't eat. That is what you find in this side of the cash flow quadrant. So, if you're over here, what do you need to do to move from this side of the quadrant over to this side of the quadrant? We're going to get into it. But I want to share that with you, right? So that's how you know your second symptom if your income depends on you. What side of the quadrant are you on? All right. Sign number three. Before I go past that, looking at my notes here. That's why I got to take notes because I get excited when I share this information. Another real quick story here. So I was just recently talking to a friend of mine, childhood friend of mine. We played basketball against each other and was checking in on him today. And, he's recently had some health issues, some heart surgeries and things of that nature. I think actually open heart surgery. So I'm like, bro, how you doing? How you feeling? What's good? Right. And, just checking in with him and then was talking to him about our millionaire mentorship program. And he shared with me that his business, he's in the insurance business, and his insurance trails are coming in at about $4,000 a month. So hold on. He's been down recovering from heart surgery. And though he's been in the hospital, the business that he built, the system that he built, though he was on one side of the quadrant, he was self-employed because he only ate what he killed, right? He had to go out there and generate the commissions and sell the product and meet with people and provide value. But he did that knowing that, hey, I'm going to continue to get paid on these trails for the rest of my life. He didn't know he was going to have a heart issue here recently, but thank God he built a business, right? Thank God he owned the system that now he gets paid while he recovers from his heart surgery. He's getting paid $4,000 a month in trails, which is continuing to pay his bills. And I said, hey man, you are closer to financial freedom than you realize. So again, he's looking at $4,000 a month. That's $48,000 a year, right? Some people may say, man, that ain't no real money. You can't be financially free from that. But he's not working for it. He already worked for it. He put some things in place and is continuing to receive those trails. So if his monthly expenses are $3,000 a month and he's getting $4,000 a month from trails, if he doesn't go out and sell anything else, is he better off than a person who's making 150 and scraping by trying to navigate debt and the high mortgage payment and the cars and the lifestyle creep and everything that goes along with that? And they're waiting for that direct deposit to hit because, like, shoot, if it don't hit, you know what I'm saying? We might not be able to pay the bills and you have to put everything on a credit card. So who's better off? Man, we can stop the trading right now. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. Let me check in and our folks inside the cash flow and lot group. Make sure y'all still with me here. Make sure y'all still with me here. Okay, cool. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Y'all still with me here. Let me hear some comments. Let that sink in for a second, family. Like, who? Who's better off? The guy making $4,000 a month in truly passive income off of trails, off of work he's been building over the past decade, or the person who's making $150,000 salary, who's like one paycheck, two paychecks away from missing that mortgage payment. Lord have mercy. Okay, cool. Let's go into the next one. Sign number 3. You know your salary, but you don't know your cash flow. Let me sip my coffee and let you think about that. Let me say that again. You know your salary, but you don't know your cash flow. Make sure y'all hear that slurp there, right? A lot of folks can tell you quick, oh yeah, I make $200,000 a year, or I make 150, or I make 90, I make 50. Great. You ask them, hey, so what's your positive cash flow? Well, I told you I make 150. That's not your cash flow, my guy. Family, girlfriend, that's not your cash flow. Your cash flow is a simple equation. It's kind of your personal profit and loss statement. It is, this is how much money came in, this is how much money came out, and this is what is left. What is your cash flow position? Here's a symptom. You're tracking your income, but you're ignoring your burn rate or monthly surplus. Perry, what's your burn rate? It is the rate that you burn through the cash that has hit your account. Burn rate. Hey, this is what I'm burning through. I'm bringing in 10,000 a month, but after I pay my mortgage at 6,000 and then cars at 2,000 and yada yada yada, right? My burn rate might be, 90%, 80%. In some people's cases, 100% of their income. Every dollar in is going out. Do you have any surplus? Are you tracking that? Because that's the number that needs to be tracked. Again, would you rather have $10,000 a month and $100 in surplus? Or would you rather have $5,000 a month and $1,000 in surplus, right? What number are you tracking? So super important, super important. If you're tracking your income, which everybody tracks your income, like folks can tell you if they direct deposit is off by a quarter, I'm saying a quarter, I'm saying, right? I'm saying for my people down south, y'all know how we get down. I'm saying my mom's just from Brownsville, Tennessee, right? So they know if they is all by a dime, a penny, like, ooh, I got to talk to somebody in HR because I didn't get all my money. But if you ask them, hey, what in order to know your cash flow, you have to know your monthly expenses. I am mind blown to this day how many people have no idea what their monthly expenses are. Hey, friend, how much are your monthly expenses? How much are your fixed expenses? How much are I think Perry, I think let me think here. Boom, boom. That's a number you should be tracking. That's a number you should be tracking more than the income number. Perry, what do you mean? If you know your monthly nut, if you know your monthly expenses are 5,000 a month, then that lets you know how much money you need to make, one, to cover that nut, and how much money you need to make to also, two, give you some excess cash flow so that you can invest in cash producing assets. The first number you should be tracking is the burn rate. Is the well, not the burn rate, but the expenses, because you got to know the expenses and the income to know the burn rate, right? But you're picking up, what I'm saying, what I'm laying down, right? So you got to know this. So knowing your numbers is super important. This is something that we teach in our financial freedom boot camp via our wealthy framework, which is our 7-step system that we've created to help people become financially free. And the first step in that, in the wealthy framework, the W, is to watch your numbers. First thing you need to know is, what are my fixed monthly commitments? And then you solve for that. And then you solve for this lifestyle. Then you solve for the surplus. Okay, let me give you a visual because I know that might be heavy for you to get. So let me jump back over my whiteboard. Check it out. We're going to call this, you know, we'll call this your bucket of cash flow, right? So you got your income. Filled your bucket up with income. But then you got this spigot here. And then you got money that's going out to cover your expenses. When this money comes in, we'll change that color. My bad, y'all. When this money comes in and then that money goes out, how much are you left with inside this bucket? Are you left with half? Are you left with, 2/3? Or is it completely gone? That's where anxiety and stress come from, because now you're now a slave to your business. You're not a slave to that paycheck, because now you got to go back and trade that time for dollars again to fill this back up, because you have not acquired any cash flow generating assets that can help you with this. Because when you have some surplus, you can then now acquire, let's call this a cash generating asset. Let's call this some real estate, or whatever cash generation, a business, whatever the case may be. Now you have this cash generating business that you can now purchase with your surplus that now fills this back up. So now you are not the only one putting money into the bucket. Now your business is. That takes the stress off of you. And effectively, what that does is help you buy your freedom. That's what helps you buy your time back. Cash flow. All right. Sign number 4. You have assets, but no leverage. All right. I was listening to one of my mentors here recently, and he brought up the John Paul Getty, quote that I've heard years ago. Was he said, "I'd rather have 1%. I'd rather have 1% of the efforts of 100 people than 100% of my efforts alone." Right. Something to that effect. So what John Paul Getty was saying was, if I have to bank on my success, I'd rather have 100 people providing 1% of what I need versus 100% coming from me. Because if I get jacked up, that 100% is gone. With those 100 people giving 1%, if one person leave, I'm still at 99%. That's still like an A plus, right? So that's what leverage is. Leverage just is not, when people hear leverage, they immediately think, oh, debt, and you shouldn't have debt and whatnot. No, leverage is having more than one entity, more than one, system working on your behalf. If your only income system is you have no leverage. If your only income system is one account performing one duty, you have no leverage. When you start to incorporate the efforts of other people, when you start to incorporate the efforts of other people's money, that now provides you with leverage to go out and do things quicker and allow you to accelerate your way to financial freedom. So let me give you an example here. We use the infinite banking concept. Now, some people may hear infinite banking and be like, oh, that's one of them cash value policies. And Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman said those are bad and whole life is a waste of money, right? Well, that's not true. Um, and I understand where Dave Ramsey is coming from, because there was a point in time I thought that way. But we're not talking about just a whole life policy. We're talking about a properly structured policy that's optimally funded to give you cash flow as soon as you, I'm sorry, give you cash savings as soon as you put money in. So, in short, we have a policy here that we are putting money into to store cash. This is not to invest. This is just for me to store cash because I get way more benefits storing cash in here than storing it at the bank. One, I'm gonna get a better interest rate. Two, I'm gonna have a death benefit for my family. So if something happens to me, right, they're gonna get millions of dollars. Like with your money sitting in the bank right now, when you put $1 in, did that dollar give your family a death benefit and help you create a legacy and generational wealth and give your people tax-free wealth? No. So I'm gonna put my money here to store it. Okay. So I put my money here to store it, and my money's growing in here uninterrupted. And then when I want to go invest in something, could be stocks, could be crypto, could be real estate, could be a business, any of these things, I now can borrow in a form of a policy loan from the policy. Now, I want to make sure because these words matter. I share this with my daughters all the time. The words that come out of your face matter. I'm not borrowing money out. So, matter of fact, that's a bad illustration. Let me get rid of this. I'm not borrowing money out. Effectively, what I'm doing is the insurance company is giving me a loan using my account as collateral. So effectively, I'm borrowing against my cash. So my cash is still sitting in the account, growing uninterrupted, still making money, raise the roof, still making money, still going up. And the insurance company would give me a loan, a collateral loan based on that, that I could then use to go out here and now acquire these cash flow generating assets. What I just created was leverage. I have money working for me in my left hand pocket because my money is growing uninterrupted, and then I'm able to purchase cash flow generating assets, dividend stocks, crypto, real estate businesses with a loan that I got from the collateralize of my cash value. That's a form of leverage. So, do I have $1 working for me and doing one job? No. My money goes in. This dollar that goes into this properly structured policy is working overtime. It's giving me interest on my money. It's giving me a death benefit on my life. It's giving my family protection in case I go into long-term care. It's giving, a benefit that if I get diagnosed with a terminal illness, it pays out, and we don't have to drain our retirement accounts or other investment accounts in order to take care of that. So that dollar is working overtime. Leverage, J. Paul Getty. And now the loan that I got from the insurance company, while not touching my money, allows me to then go out and buy these other things that are going to produce cash flow, which again covers my monthly expenses. There you go. That is what leverage looks like, y'all. So, do you have assets or do you just have leverage? Do you have equity inside your property right now? Like, this is the piece that mind blows me. There are folks walking around with $250,000, $500,000 of equity in their home, and they're trying to figure out how to become financially free. Let me say that again. Folks are walking around with I was just on the line with a client today. I think $260,000 in equity in a home. And they're like, oh, well, we don't know if financially we can afford some things. Okay. Right. I've seen a client with 500,000. Why would you let that equity, your money, sit inside the asset without utilizing it? It's your money. Access that money, keep the asset that's going to continue to grow and appreciate, and access that money via leverage to then go out and create more cash flow for yourself. That's called a dead asset. And this is what we teach inside our boot camp is how to become your own bank. More importantly, how to think like the bank. And one way to think like the bank is to never sell your appreciating assets and put your money in places where you can use those assets as collateral to get access to money to then go out and buy more cash producing assets. I got it? Whew. I know that's a lot. Stay with me here. Sign 5, my last one. You're counting down to retirement. instead of creating freedom today. Let me say that again. You're doing that, you're counting down to retirement. Oh, I'm gonna be to retire in 5 years. Oh, I'm gonna be to retire in 10 years. Okay. It's 9 years, 7 months, and 3 weeks, and 2 days, and 2 hours left before I can retire. You're doing that while other people are figuring out how to create financial freedom today. It's a difference. Here's a symptom. You believe the future you believe that financial freedom is a future event, or it's the big exit. Hey, I'll be financially free when I turn 65 and I'm retired and I got my social security and things of that nature. Versus like, hey, how do you become free today? I mean, it's an easy question, right? So would you rather have own all of your time in your 30s and 40s and early 50s, or when you're 60, 70, and 80? At what point in time do you want to own your day 100%? If you're watching this video and you're in our training, hopefully you're saying, man, I want to own that as soon as possible. So what can you do to create financial freedom now? Create it now. Why wait? Right? Because your freedom has an impact not just on you, it impacts everything around you. Your ability to be free, to own your time, to be there for your spouse, to be there for your children, to be there for your community, to be there for your city, your state, your country, your church, your whatever is heavy on your heart to be. How would you show up differently if you were financially free and you knew you had enough passive income to cover your monthly expenses? That's it, y'all. So here's the deal. Retirement should not be an age. It should not be like, oh, I've reached retirement age. No, we prefer, no, forget retirement age. I want to be work optional as soon as possible. How much of my time have I bought back today? I told you I was talking to a friend of mine today. And at his current income that he's receiving from his trails, from his business that he never has to work for again, off of that income that he's receiving, we shared that he said he wanted to, have $20,000 a month to be, financially free and work optional slash retired. He really doesn't need that much because his expenses aren't that high, but that's his number. And I said, you know what? Who am I to shoot down somebody's dreams? That's not what I do. What I do, you tell me the number you want, and I tell you how close you are to it and what you need to do to get it. That's how I move. So when people come to me like, hey, Perry, can you let me know when I can retire? Well, shoot, I don't know, right? You can become work optional probably, in the next, 365 days if you know your numbers and you have the right system and you're getting the mentoring and the coaching that you need to go out and create it, right? So yeah, I don't know when you're going to retire, but my job ain't to tell you that. Your How I work with our clients as a financial strategist is you tell me what you want and by when. I'm gonna tell you how close you are to that and what you need to do to get there. That's it. So looking at my guy, you know what I'm saying? He said he wanted $20,000 a month. And I said he's doing, I already told you he was doing 4,000 a month without getting up out the bed and we're sitting there and recovering with, what I'm saying, from a heart surgery. And I said, bro, you don't even realize this. You are 20% the way to being financially free. Okay. You know what? Let me just, let me do another drawing. I know I'm a visual dude. So let's say, let's draw this here. These are his monthly expenses, his bills. This is his passive income. We're gonna call, hey, you want to have 20,000. Okay, cool. I know that's a big number. Everybody's number is different. Maybe your number is 5, maybe your number is 10, maybe your number is 7. But we're gonna use this example because it was an extreme example. And I was like, okay, I can rock with it. And I showed him, I said, so my friend, here's the deal. 20% would be, let me just draw some lines in here, try to make it mathematically correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And I said, man, bro, with the 4,000 you got coming in trails, you are 20% the way to become financially free. You're 20% of the way to freedom. To freedom. 20% of the way. That's amazing. How close are you to freedom? How much passive income do you have? Because remember, this number is your passive income, not your earned income. This is the income that is coming from that right hand side of the cash flow quadrant, right? That right hand side of the cash flow quadrant is business ownership and investing. So, from your business, how much profit are you getting that you don't have to work for, that your business and your systems are generating for you? From your investments, your real estate, your crypto, your dividend stocks, your online courses, your affiliate programs, right? All of those things, right? How much passive monthly recurring income are you getting? Because in this case right here, my guy had no idea he was that close to being financially free. I said, if you know how to create $4,000 in passive income and you've done it, how quickly could you do that 4 more times? He do that 4 more times. He has $20,000 a year. I'm sorry, $20,000 a month coming in. And check this out, y'all. Let me let you in on a secret. He don't have a dime in retirement. No retirement savings, right? So he's gonna probably be more financially free faster than folks who are just trying to lump it all away and throw it into, oh man, I'm just gonna throw it into this retirement plan and hopefully it's enough money down the road. No, he already knows how to create $4,000 a month. Now let's take that and supercharge it. How do we create another $4,000, you know what I'm saying, in the next 30, 60, 90 days, another 40,000 in another 30, 60, 90 days. So he comes through our mentorship, our millionaire mentorship program. He now gets the coaching and the guidance that he needs. That's what he's potentially looking at because he already knows how to do it. Hey, how did you do this? How did you get to 4,000 a month? Well, I did this. Okay, let's go ahead and supercharge that and make it happen faster. Because after you know how to do something once, you know how to do it faster the next time and faster the next time. And oh, don't get me started. Woo! That's in chills. I didn't even know I was gonna say that. Like, no, I'm going with the flow. If you haven't noticed, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have my notes for these trainings, but a lot of this kind of the spirit leads me and takes me where it wants me to go. All right, let's close this bad boy out, y'all. The takeaway here is this. The suit, my suit is fitting great. It wasn't a reflection of what the scale said. It was a reflection of the suit. The scale, the example I used earlier, the scale was your income, your revenue, right? How much income you make, or how much revenue your business makes, right? But the suit is the lifestyle. So I have time freedom. I have more time freedom now than I had any of my years in corporate America. I remember when I used to work for some of the banks, and the way they worked us was crazy for the amount of money that they paid us. But we would have managers who would come and be like, "Hey, you're supposed to be at 30 appointments a week. If you're not at 30 appointments a week, you need to come into the office on Saturday and work on scheduling 30 appointments a week. So you go into the next week. You should walk into every week with 30 appointments." I'm lucky now to do 5 or 6 a week, and I make 3 times the money, 5 times the money, probably 10 times the money. Actually, when I was in that first role, oh yeah, that number is more than 10x. I make 10x the amount of money I was making in that particular role with someone telling me where I had to show up on Saturday with newborn twins. There are stories with me bringing in 2 car seats of kids because I didn't have my 30 appointments that somebody told me I had to have. I did not control my calendar. Somebody else did. Somebody else said, "Hey, Perry, you can't sit at home and be with your daughters. You got to bring them into the office." But they didn't say you had to bring them to the office, but I had them by myself. So I had to take them into the office and go work because somebody else controlled my calendar. That's crazy when you think about that out loud, right? So income is cute, y'all. Income is cool, but do you own your own time? You're never going to impress me with how much income you make. You're never going to impress me with, oh, my business is doing 7 figures. You want to impress me? Show me how you're choosing to go do things because you want to, not because you have to. Impress me with saying, hey, I have so much passive income and monthly recurring income coming in from my business and my investments that if I want to go and, work over here, it's because I'm choosing to, not because I have to. That's what impresses me, right? It's kind of like when business, you would never impress me with your 7-figure, 8-figure business revenue. You want to impress me? I'm going to be impressed with the bottom line. Is that business income, is that profit from that business providing enough income to cover your lifestyle and for you to go out and acquire other cash flow generating assets so you no longer have to work that business? That's how you impress me, right? And that's what I had to impress upon myself when I said, you know what, P, you may not have the largest nest egg in the world. That actually is kind of pathetic considering the industry that you're in. But man, you have figured out how to get close to $100,000 a month in income, right? We got close to doing 100,000 one time. You know what I'm saying? We probably average now 40 or 50 or so, right? And we're pushing towards, hey, let's get to 100,000. And I'm not trying to get to 100,000 in income just so I can be like, ooh, I got income. If we're at 100,000 income, I can employ more people. If I can employ more people and teach them to do what I do, we can actually help more people get their finances together. And that's how we create a legacy, is by sharing the information that we use inside our own finances and helping other people do it so they can then share with their kids, so that then, 3, 4 generations down the line, when their kids are sitting on a yacht or sitting on the beach on vacation because of a system they're running, they might not even know my name. But I don't need that kid to be like, oh, thank you, Perry, from 5, 6, 7 generations ago, right? Who taught my mom or my dad or my auntie and my uncle how to do this thing, right? But that's how we are paying it forward, showing you how to buy your time back. If you want to learn how to buy your time back, I absolutely recommend that you look at joining one of our financial freedom boot camps, a 5-day intensive where I teach the wealthy framework from top to bottom, and you have time to ask me any of your financial questions over a 5-day week for 2 hours a day. All right, y'all. Hope this was valuable. Y'all know the drill. As we're trying to grow our YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.